Yeah, because I've been diving in that type of corridor, man. I want to know what's up, what you think.
So I usually like, so what's up? Hold on, let me do this intro. What's up, YouTube? We tapped into the podcast show, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in right now. We about to go ahead, go on different topic, different subjects. This is the late night hour. You know what I mean? With 19 keys. We don't sleep. We stay woke. Tap in. So anyway, so first subject that we was talking about was what? Do I believe that space is made of water? It's just as I was doing like, and I'm not, you know, it's better to talk about a subject when you're freshly studied on it and you culminate these philosophies and these thoughts,
when
right?
You can back it up with actual facts, right?
Right. So, you know, that's really when I like to talk about it, but we can talk about it now regardless, because I don't know, when you think about space and you think about the way water is, like everything forms from, I believe all molecules that form from water, right? You know, the darkness, that triple darkness, that water. That's a different form of water than the water that we have now. That's a whole, the structure of that water is different. But I believe that space, if you think about space and you think about the properties of space, and of course it's not hydrogen and 2 parts oxygen, because if it was 2 parts oxygen, then we'd be able to breathe it. But I believe it's the same element as the one, but I think it's a different arrangement, the same way we have a force phase of water and it changes up. And the difference between the arrangement is the protons in that arrangement. So I believe it's the same substance, the same way you got liquid, you got solids, you have gases. Yeah, I mean, it's the same element, but the protons are arranged differently, right? But if you think about something being in air or something being underwater, right? And you think about something being in space, you know what I mean? They have similar to the same functions as far as how it flows. And now some people believe that stars are just vibrating water, right? Because they did the I forgot what the science is when they studied what the water. Come on, somebody in the comments, tap in. Where they was able to vibrate the water at very high speeds, and it was able to form these different shapes. So some people believe that, you know, that's what stars are. You know what I mean? And some people believe basically that's kind of what the earth is, because, you know, earth is mostly water. You know what I mean? Like, we're mostly a body of water. The earth is mostly a body of water. It only makes sense that outside these bodies of water, there's other different functions of water. So I believe that, yeah, the resonance, no, not resonance. No, that's not what it's called. But I believe that, you know, when you think about space, you know, it functions like water to me. You can't breathe in water, right? We can't breathe in space. You can float in water, you can float in space. You know, I just think that it's a different type of water. I wish.
I mean, I don't know if you can call it water then, because it's missing some of the attributes of traditional water.
Well, the element, it's the element, but water is like, when water is steam, it's still water. When water is ice, it's still water, right? Well, so when it's coming in the drain drop, or whether it's coming in a liquid form, it's still water, but the protons change. It's just a different pattern of that element.
Dry water.
Let me see if I can find somebody's face.
That was a good, that's good. That's a good word to categorize.
Hold on. So look, somebody. So I'm looking up some stuff. So it says that.
But not too many people have thought about that. So
we've been thinking about this since a long time.
On that, you know. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
So there's actually documentaries about this. It looks like. It'd be funny. I'll be having thoughts that I never actually. Sometimes I don't actually do research, and then I find out like it's a whole community of people who think the same exact thing.
Exactly.
So.
But I don't think that stuff don't be for a reason. Don't be for a reason.
Space. The final frontier.
So there's. Hold on. Listen to this.
This is where the frontier pushes back.
It's a process called sonoluminescence.
The first time I saw sonoluminescence was in a darkened room. I was transfixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid and you look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid.
Oh, that's interesting. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. I got to bring them back. The live cut off. We going in tonight, y'all. If you got any questions, put them in the chat below, and we go tap in. We just going live, man. I'm up. I'm energized. I haven't even ate anything today, so I'm hungry. I need some mod to come back in, and we're gonna keep going over these different subjects. If y'all got anything y'all want us to talk about, tap in and let us know. So we can go look, we can go deep. We can go deep on any subject you want to. So any subject. Let's go deep on anything.
Let's talk about I usually don't like to dive in stuff that, like when you say it is unconfirmed fact.
No, it don't matter. Let's go. Nothing is off.
Let's talk about this infinite plane.
The infinite plane. Let's go.
Infinite plane.
So, okay, so you subscribe to the flat earth theory?
No, I never said. It's real delicate, that situation.
It ain't too delicate. You subscribe to it or you don't?
No.
How many of y'all are flat earthers out there?
No.
You know, YouTube has created, I think it was January 20th, I believe, that they came out and said that conspiratorial theory videos will either be terminated or be taken down out of rotation. So anything that goes against mainstream media, they're targeting. So if it goes against the mainstream narrative, then they're going to be taking it down, and they're specifically targeting videos like flat earth theories and stuff like that. So of course I don't believe it. No. Nah. They can do it because it's their software. I mean, you can keep putting it up. It says, have you studied any of the court terminology? Yeah, I studied plenty of court terminology.
I mean, I really haven't came up to with a thorough conclusion that I can say and actually make sense out of. But one of the things that I know for a fact is that it's not perfectly round. If it is round.
So interestingly enough, it's not a subject that I've spent a lot of time researching or studying at all. I've heard the arguments on both sides. I've heard some people, like, for one, I don't think it's just straight flat. You know, nothing in nature is made straight flat. So I think that argument is idiotic at best. And I think it's lazy and it lacks real merit for discussion, to be honest with you. And I've heard some of the arguments, and they can easily be, perception based. When a person is looking for what they want to see, you create the reality, right? But at the same time, if we looking at this from a physics standpoint, I believe that the earth is whatever perceived reality that the collective comes up with. So the more interesting thing about it is that
we got to backtrack on that. So what you mean the collective came up with? I mean,
so think about. So I believe
scientists went out there, right, and actually noticed stuff for confirmation.
Well, So I'm thinking of it like this: the Earth itself, right? You say for confirmation, but they were already looking for it to look a certain way, be a certain way. So I look, the NASA images, they at best, maybe not. A lot of the NASA, I don't know. I don't trust NASA. It's the government, and that's the interesting thing. But the reason why
NASA is a British agency, or It was the British and the French agency, and they co-joined forces. It's actually NASA isn't even a part of the American government.
See,
but they work in cahoots with America.
I'm not a NASA guy. Look, I don't research and study none of this kind of stuff.
I do though, because it's like NASA is the frontier of futurism and the space stuff.
No, NASA don't really be coming up with shit though.
They don't.
NASA ain't really like they not really that. Like I feel like Apple is more advanced than NASA, and these niggas have been trying to shoot the planets and stuff.
Straight up, like SpaceX and stuff like that. That's more exciting, and I hear more updates.
And see, now he's getting regulation, and then there's now they looking at his clearance as far as how that's going to affect SpaceX in the program. They right now looking at as far as how much power, how much involvement he's going to have, because the way he was able to do that is basically he's able, because he's not government regulated per se, he's able to do things that NASA can't do, right? Because he's not funded by the people, basically. So he's not really able to do his own thing. He's not doing his own thing because he's also taking grants from the government. So basically it's like a partnership thing. But they're giving him those grants because he can do things that normally the government wouldn't be able to do, but he gets to, go past some of the bureaucracy, basically. But he's still regulated by the government. So let's be clear on that. He's not just out here free balling and doing what the hell he wants to. He's still under regulation and restriction. So he's still under governmental control, basically. Yeah, DARPA is control, weather control is real, all of that good stuff.
All that.
And like that's not even like stuff like that is not even conspiracy. Stuff like that is just reality. If people just do any research, those are things that the government just admits. It's not things that we have to ponder upon. Those are just things that's reality. Yeah, no, of course not. If like, they said they went to the moon a long goddamn time ago, but they never went back. And then then they said they don't have the same technology to go back. I mean, common sense just don't agree with NASA, basically. Common sense don't agree with them. Some people believe, but the only thing I also think is dangerous for people without proof, to discredit a lot of mainstream science, because people end up believing people, right? They have no proof because it sounds great and they have such a great enchantment with the words they speak, but they're not providing no scientific evidence, And I get how, we don't want to believe, mainstream science or whatever, but at least they do a better convincing job. They create textbooks and studies and all kind of different stuff, and then they got a whole scientific community that backs each other up. Put millions and billions of dollars. So if they create in a great lie, at least they're putting in the work to give a good lie. Well, these people just come up with a YouTube channel, do a couple of Google searches, and discredit everything. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I'm saying that I'm going to need more. I'm going to need more study. I'm going to need more funding. I'm going to need more work because they put in a lot of work. You understand me?
But people are kind of getting more woke with actual facts.
But here's the thing.
You got to look at it, though, from school and stuff. We know that that's institutionalized education. So we starting to venture out and like, damn, what else?
Yeah, the school is indoctrination.
Right, indoctrination. Assimilation of some sort, when you assimilate to a certain culture and their beliefs. So once we start to, expand our mind, what else is a European, westernized culture way of seeing things, then we as Black people just got that, I don't know, that niche to just question everything now, because this is a pivotal time in history.
Deconstructionism. We want to deconstruct everything.
But
see, here's the thing about that, right? It can be dangerous in this is that you can spend a lot of time wasted on trying to deconstruct things instead of trying to build things. So think about the average person whose mind is sucked into the conspiracies, but they don't know how to operate in the things that are reality, right? They don't know how to build a business. They don't know how to build their mind up. They don't know how to develop real skills that are actual facts, that are things that actually exist. But they know everything about these conspiracies that sucked up all of their time. So these can be more dangerous than they are actually informative and actually helping people. And so that's my thing with that is like, yes, you can go smoke a lot of weed, do some shrooms, get stuck into a alternate reality of alternate facts, but these alternate facts don't build anything, right? So if there's a
It's like if
alternate,
you're not questioning stuff,
yeah, if there's an alternate scientific community that just building things that and to that point, there are some people that there are real scientists and engineers with this, right? So they come up with these ideas and then they build inventions and they engineer something that represents their idea. That's something that's practical use in society, right? Because it's like going back, it's like traveling back into the Egyptian days and being and arguing with them about shroom, not shrooms, but somebody said something about shrooms, but arguing with them about the flat earth and the Anukis and all that good stuff instead of trying to figure out how you can build the pyramids like they build it. You know what I mean? Or how they had the engineering and mathematical systems and how they use gold and all that different stuff. It's like you want to get the knowledge of the times, right? So some people focus on what's not true instead of using what is true. So
yeah, but
which is more valuable is the
that,
question. Which one is going to give you value? Right? Right. So when I research things, here's the thing. I research things for practicality and I research things to try to figure out how I can use it, right? So I think you can be a polymath, you can research anything, but try to figure out how you can use it in some practical sense. How is this going to advance you? How is it going to evolve you? And I think it's a different point of view when you're studying things for that reason rather than just studying things just because, right? So if I'm an engineer and I'm researching the Anunnaki and I'm researching the Egyptians and I'm researching the Kemetic sciences and I'm researching, Western sciences, all these different things, I'm going to figure out what can I learn from these things that I can grab and I can build off of, right? And that changes the way you see things and the reason why and your intent matters for the outcome that you're going to receive from it, right? So that's the mindset I want people to get, because I know a lot of people who follow people because they can give you great information about ancient aliens, but they can't teach you shit about how to build a business. They can't teach you nothing about how to be a great human being and develop your mind into full mastery and really raise your consciousness and your vibration on this planet Earth. They can't teach you those things. They're teaching you information that's escapism. That's allowing you to get away from those actual things that you should be doing in reality, right? So I'm not saying that these things are wrong or there's something wrong with these things. I'm just saying that think about the reason why you're learning it and how you can use it. Because I think one of the biggest things that's missing in Western education is the application of knowledge. How do you actually use what you learn? Right? Because this is what I like to call the industrial conscious complex, right? The conscious industrial complex. You take consciousness, right? And this is full transparency on marketing, right? So you take conscious, you sell the information. The information is nice, it's right, it's powerful information. It's that kind of information that make you want to change your life. You know what I mean? It make you feel empowered to get it. You connect the product to it, right? You sell the product, you make profit. You take those profits, you figure out ways to market that information to more masses so that you connect that, and then you get able to sell more product because you convert that attention, and then you take that money and sell to more people, and it just become a cycle. The problem with this is that it's great, it's genius, of course, this is marketing hand in hand. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with making money and things of that nature, but you gotta do it with righteous intelligence. Are these people really producing a change, or is it just producing a feeling of change? Right? So I want people to change their life, right? I want people, so like, if you go sign up to the Keys Academy, I'm going to give you actual keys and actual things that you can do, right? That's applicable, that you can use in your daily to change your life. So, and I think that if you're giving a person knowledge, absolutely you should get paid for it, because knowledge is the most valuable thing on earth, right? But if you're only doing it just to sell a product,
if it's applicable
knowledge, I'm not down for that.
I mean, we can sell a bunch of books, but I mean, a lot of times books don't really have any, like you said, applicable knowledge. It's just to fill your head with stuff that makes you feel good.
Right. And I told the people the story about that when I was in jail. I was locked up for about 30 days. I think I was in Iowa waiting to be extradited to California off a charge that I beat when I took it to trial. But I was reading a book, and the book was a story book. I forgot what it was. It was an amazing story. Like I could really visualize every part of the story. I was adding characters in it. Like I could see it clearly. And it was an amazing story. But the problem was that it didn't teach me anything on how I could beat my case, how I can get out of this situation, and that I can use when I go to trial. When I went to trial, I seen Adrian. He was there because, they still had him because he wasn't able to file for bail. But he told me that he gave me a couple books that I needed to read, a list of books that I can read that was applicable knowledge, right? For one, he gave me like stuff like Aristotle and Socrates and stuff like that. And at first, and then then I started reading this book on the Art of Deception, and all of it was about the reason that I got the information, because all of it was about the language that they was using in trial and how the actual language of the lawyers was actually made up, the legal system language, right? Because it was built on these layers of deception, the dialogues of Plato and all of that different stuff. So as I was reading it, I was learning that pattern of thinking, and I was able to understand what was happening in the court as the lawyers was laying out certain strategies and stuff like that. So I was really learning from it.
It's certain,
right?
They use, like you said, they use a lot of psychological tactics.
Hell yeah. And then I learned basically all the knowledge that I used. I was able to use it to pick the juries. I was able to use it so that I could get certain motions turned out, all of the different stuff. So I was actually able to use that information to help me get my freedom. And after that, I was just I only wanted to learn applicable knowledge because I know that that serves best interest, freedom, justice, and equality.
Submission to the will of Allah is so key, especially when you're in those type of situations. You really understand what that stuff really means.
Somebody said it's not simple. Hold on, we only know this before the internet, where the internet thought it came together and made change, blah, blah, blah. They say everybody's limited by their perception. That's why you expand your perception when you read and you get knowledge. You're limited by you're limited by thinking you know something instead of the continuation of that journey of learning. Right? You're only limited by what you know. But when you know you don't know anything, which is kind of like that Socratic method of knowing that your cup is always empty and you always filling it up, you're in a constant state of flow and learning. And though the ignorant man thinks he knows, and then as soon as you think you know, you got caught. You ignorant. As soon as you think you know, you ignorant.
Yep.
So I don't get caught up in that. So what's up? What's the next subject?
What is the next subject? You picked the subject this time.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Give me something to embellish on.
Let's see. String theory or something in quantum physics.
String theory.
Have you awakened your Kundalini before? Nope, you didn't. If you gotta say you didn't.
Whoa, wait.
Nope, if you gotta say you didn't.
Whoa. Like, what do you mean when you say awaken your Kundalini? Because there's a couple interpretations.
Have you cracked your pineal gland, my G?
No. Well, yes, I have.
Nope, you said no first. That was the truth.
No. Because there's a sexual undertone to that, and there's the
pause. What you talking about? We going too deep.
No. Okay, because
this is beyond my obligations in the contract.
No, I'm saying though, because there's the Western way.
I know you talking about Tantric.
I'm saying.
But that's not.
Expecting that sexual.
That's addressing Kundalini. You talking about consciousness and energy, and all religions. I'm being funny, but let's be serious.
I can bear witness that I haven't fully unlocked my pineal gland. If I did, then I'd be somewhere in the astral world, somewhere.
Well, some people unlock it, but then they retort back to that state because I always say you got to pay rent in order to keep it unlocked, right? So people unlock it, they get to these stages to where it electrifies their brain, it turns on, but then they retort back to that state because that state is too sensitive for them. You know what I mean? It's too powerful, it's too shocking. And so they go back into that state. So, and I always use the analogy of like a woman giving birth. It's called the crowning, right? When you're giving birth, the baby head about to come out. It's the most painful ever. And at least that's what women who's pregnant. And so what ended up happening is they retract the head back down because it's so painful. So you have to keep pushing. So it's the same thing with your pineal gland being activated. It's the crowning. It turns on that crown chakra, right?
Yeah, but I was getting at the sexual implications because there's a way to what's the word, to kind of potentize the height.
This is beyond my obligations in the contract.
It's real strange and how to to explain it, especially like when we're online right now, but there's a way to kind of cultivate it, your sexual high, you know what I mean, when you ejaculate or when you have orgasms, and there's a way to kind of fine tune it and really use it to to an enlightening manner, I guess you can say. But it's not just supposed to be for sexual pleasure. That's the ancient teachings of it.
All right. So since you hit the chord of that subject, we all adults here, and I think that one of the things that individuals have been mistreated with is that parents give you the birds and the bees, but they don't give you the Kundalini and the energies, right?
Yeah.
They don't give you the panics and the tantrics. And so the here's the thing about this, right? Because you're talking about energy and basically that's what that's dealing with, energy and consciousness. And so you're talking about controlling the Kundalini energy and the urge. And so for a lot of people, it's a difficulty, having that sort of power over self. Once that horny ram takes over, a lot of people don't have power over self. And so they say that the man who can control his sexual urges, can control the world, and so when you think about that, that's very real of a statement. And, that sexual energy that can form and create life, and it's forming life right in there. A person is wasting all of that energy, on a moment from an urge that they can't control. And so it's saying that being able to harness and control that power, because that goes down from here, the same way blood goes down from here, that energy and that oxygen that flows within that blood goes down from here, right? And that's what drives you. But you're supposed to be able to control it and then send it right back up to what they call heaven. You know what I mean? And being able to have that explosion of energy and that orgasm within the mind, rather within the body, which depletes you of energy.
Control that heaven, though. That heaven is supposed to be something you're able to always tap back into and control it. And when you do tap into that heaven, you're supposed to be able to implement it in the right directions instead of a sexual high.
Right.
Basically.
Like, because women and men are made differently as well. So a woman can continuously have orgasms without being depleted. Her system is made differently than a man. But when a man gives an orgasm, because you got to think that a man has got like 100 million little swimming sperms in there, right? So if you multiply that, that's why, it could take about 10 to 100 men can repopulate the whole earth. But a woman only has that one egg, right? But when you're thinking about all of that energy that's let off, you're talking about, energy that can create a whole population. You know what I mean? That's let off in a moment. And so that's why controlling that Kundalini energy is so powerful. The brother said, balls is life. Y'all so silly, man. Let's be serious here. Yeah, man. But it's the chi, it's your energy, right? So let's be serious for a second, right? When a person is sexually aroused, they're not in control of that energy. That control right there. A person's energy is like, pulsating. They don't have control over that vibration, and then it causes that. But it's about controlling self, right? And being able to control that energy and cultivate it. But if you teach your children about that sexual energy and what that means, they'll understand, for one, the sacredness and the divineness of what it is, rather than allowing that to just, be exploited and let out. And that's why in Western world and in marketing and things of that nature, you're exploited through your sexual energy. you're marketed through your sexual energy because they know that that's some of the most powerful energy that's going to control you and make you a better consumer, right? Because also they're controlling you through your ego, which is connected to your sex drive. And so you have to be careful of allowing other people to control you through your sex drive, right? And not having control over that. Like, sexual mastery is a very powerful thing. It gives you energy over everything else. But nobody is taught. It's not taught in the Black community, not taught in the Christian community, not taught in no communities within, our environments, anything about sexual energy at all. It's such a taboo subject. You know what I mean? You talk about the birds and the bees, about the social aspect, but never taught about the energetic properties and the consciousness connected to it.
School, but they'd rather, put in homosexuality and have that taught into schools instead of sexual education.
Right. The real sexual education.
The real sexual education. But that's where it starts at, though. Once you're able to control your urges and stuff, then everything else just falls in line.
Right.
Pretty much. Because you can really see where it stems from.
Right, and that's why, they talk about semen retention and individuals going, that they do the no nut Novembers and individuals going without, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I think, yeah. You deplete a lot of energy. You got to store that up.
Yeah, you're right, though. And men never do. That's one of the hardest things we face, though. One of the hardest things we face.
Yeah, you got to store that up because everything is trying to control you through your sex drive all the time. And that's why FBI will study the sexual habits of men so they know how to exploit them and what their weaknesses were. So they used to send in agents that will, know exactly what that person's sexual habits were. And then that's how they was able to infiltrate so many different systems. You know what I mean? So that's why it's so important to teach these things, but that's one of the biggest things, like sex education in the Black community or conscious community. Maybe not the conscious community, because that's more where you talk about it, but in the Black community is definitely not talked about on its properties and why it's so fundamentally important when it's controlling and allowing you to have full control and power over self and enlightenment. And that's been exploited for so long. And that's why, like, teaching men how to be men and women how to be women, part of that is that sexual enlightenment and that sexual education necessary.
Maturation, really is such a taboo topic that, people don't really like to talk about it. It's like, it's one of those things we don't like to talk about, but it's really like one of the most important things that we could talk about, period.
And see, that's why, a lot of people are addicted to porn. You understand me? Because porn is a drug. It's one of the most addictive things in the industry. It's so huge. You understand me? And the food in the sex industry is directly connected because it's a cycle. It's a food sex cycle, right? Because what you're doing is that blood is going down to your stomach, and once that blood is going down to your stomach, when you're hungry, it also goes down to your genitals. That excites you, and a person is able to use that. So when a person is depleted or when they're hungry, it also drives their sex drive. And that's why dating, if you look at how the dating structure has been capitalized off of, it's been fed to us to take a person out on a date to go eat at a restaurant. And then what happens after that is because, that excitation of blood that went down to, the organs here in your stomach is also led to your genital area, and it excites that and cultivates that drive. So then afterwards, a person has sex, and then after sex, what happens? A person gets hungry again. So, they eat again. And there's a big connection in exploiting that food sex drive. And that's why some people only eat and have sex.
Exactly. That's the only routine in their relationships.
And people that study this know how to capitalize off of it.
Hell yeah. That's why all the fast food places got the commercials with the couples going in there eating. In the movies they eat, then go have sex. That's really the ritual that you practice in.
Right. And
people don't understand it. That's why it's like a lot of times people enter these fruitful or unfruitful relationships and they don't really turn out because they're going through the same routines and it's no building.
Right.
Because you just eating and having sex. That's just a pleasure-filled relationship.
Right. And both of those can be addictions, and because it feels good. Like, you remember, you're driven by those feelings, right? So that excitement or those feelings are driving a lot of people. And that's one thing why this needs to be taught, because black people especially are exploited through our sex drive, because we have very high sex drives. You know what I mean? We have very high libido. You understand me? That's where racism comes from. You understand me? And so there's always been a sexual infatuation, that white supremacy has with the black community and the black man.
That enslaved them. Yeah, man. Everything stems from the erectors, man. That's what racism. That's what the whole slave thing was for, man.
Mm-hmm.
White woman was so infatuated with the black man, they didn't have no choice but to put brothers in chains.
And now you
control them.
Yeah, man. This being a sex addict is a real thing. Addicted to porn is a real thing. Addicted to food is a real thing. You know what I mean? All of these different things that can control a person through the left hemisphere of your brain, which is the seat of the ego. You understand me? And people are programmed like through this all day long, and they're stuck, because it's the same thing as when a person does drugs, and that brain triggers that excitement. You understand me? And it becomes your opiates, and then you get caught on it. And you need it continuously over and over again. I was actually having this conversation when we did the live with Pinky. You understand me? Talking about the food sex drive and that connection that it has, and how that industry exploits that and things of that nature. Yeah, dopamine. So, sex is embedded in all of the ads and programming. There's no morality in marketing. Marketing programming is evil a lot. You know what I mean? It robs a person of their ability to control themselves by cultivating a feeling that drives people to do. You understand me? And people are being engineered, through their left brain, you know what I mean, and driven to consume. So you have to really study these things about sex. And I know a lot of people want to have this so-called sexual revolution, but that's not a real revolution. It's a sexual de-evolution, if we're being honest about it, because it's giving you less control over yourself, not more control. And so it's been guised, and that's why people have to be dangerous, because you think that you're becoming more enlightened when you're becoming devolved. Actually, you're becoming evolved. You're not evolving more. You know what I mean? Because you can post a naked picture on Instagram. That's not a sexual revolution. That's sexual exploitation.
A lot of people will argue that that's sexual freedom.
But look, we didn't. Okay, so look, that's like, imagine you lived 1,000 years ago, right? Where y'all was naked and y'all was just doing stuff. Y'all wasn't really tripping off nothing, right? Or y'all was covered and you didn't even think about it being in a sexual manner. Like, people are, it's the same thing. It's like, if you take the Amber Slut Walk, right? A person say that you a slut, so a person would say, okay, cool, I'm gonna take the power out of that by owning that and calling myself a slut, right? So think about this. If somebody called you stupid, you gonna be like, you know what, I am stupid. Now you can't call me stupid. No, I'm gonna disprove you, because the reason I'm offended is not because you called me that thing. The reason I'm offended is because it's not true. So what ended up happening is I'm intelligent. That's why I don't want you to call me that thing, right? So I'm not going to own the word you called me and take out the power of it. No, I'm gonna prove that you a fucking liar, because I'm intelligent. I'm not actually stupid, right? So that word that we kind of take with these powers, and the dangers is that a lot of these young girls look up to it, and a lot of women now act like niggas. Like, let's be honest, and a lot of men act like women, in a lot of different, or feminine. Let's not say women, but they act feminine, right? And so if you looked at the spring break shit, of course everybody want to go twerk, everybody want to go kick it in the street, all of the different things. But if you look at the female rappers today, most of them rap like niggas. They just rap like straight niggas, like they fucking drug dealers or some shit. And they over masculize. You barely get a feminine rapper anymore, a feminine woman rapper. You got all these feminine men rappers, but these women acting like they hard as shit and they gangsters or something. You know what I mean? Like, relax. Where's the femininity at? So there's a toxic femininity that's being ran around. You know what I mean? And there's one that, and it's the femininity that's masculized.
toxic. I mean, if there's any such thing as toxic masculinity, there's definitely toxic femininity.
Oh, factories. Anything that's not in its correct or natural form is toxic. So yeah, you know what I mean.
Hit on the nail with that one.
Yeah. All right, so let me get the people some more keys on this tantric stuff. Right. This is actually a topic that I think people really need to have power over and being able to control themselves and like study these things. People like study, like you got to think about like I went ahead and went on a whole. We just had this whole thing about water, right? The reason I went over that is people don't think that this is important, but you're talking about people having information about yourself. This is all self-knowledge, self-knowledge. You're talking about, you are made of 90% water, yet you know nothing about water. That's weird as a human being. Like, that's what we made of. Individuals are constantly being marketing sex and having sex and doing sex, and that's what creates babies, but you know nothing about sex and the power of it and the energy behind it and how it happens and the sexual organs. Like, you got to think about you as a human being having no information over things about human beings, right? So it's like some of this information to a lot of people seem abstract because they weren't taught about it, right? So somebody said, how can a woman be a feminine rapper? What do you mean? How can she not be a feminine rapper is the question that you must ask. Ask yourself that. How can a woman not be a feminine rapper? You'll find your answer. Right? We be asking the wrong questions. How can she not be a feminine rapper?
Yeah, the question lies, or the answer lies in the question, really. Because
people are connecting this femininity with sexuality, which are two different things. You know what I mean? Like Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is not always the most feminine, but people think she is because of her sexuality and her over exploitation of sex. You know what I mean? So she sexualizes herself. And they connect that, they intersect that with her being feminine when it's not the same thing. You're just exploiting yourself. Yeah. And that's why women, and when it used to be men exploited women, women are exploiting themselves, So when you think about it, like the City Girls video where all of the ass shaking everywhere, years ago, people were mad at Nelly for doing tip drill video, right? And so society was like, no, you exploiting women. And then they complain about rappers exploiting women and having video vixens all these years. Now, when women do, it's sexual freedom. So it's like you can't be hypocrites when it's on the opposite side of the coin. And it's definitely the same thing. It's definitely the same thing.
We was just being desensitized though, man. That's all.
Yeah.
It just happened over time.
Yeah, I mean, because and that's the whole thing. When the thing happened with Nelly, he had all these dark-skinned women in the video, and so these sororities came out against him and they boycotted him, and so they started adding light-skinned women, right? And so now light-skinned women got fetishized, and now people mad that they use light-skinned women, and so it's like it's one of those things where you have to be careful what you wish for. You know what I mean? And you got to really work towards the cure and root out the situation. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself exploiting yourself when you was mad when somebody else did it. And we do that all the time in the Black community. Somebody else exploits us. We own the exploitation, and then we do it to ourselves. And so we end up becoming weaponized against ourselves. That's just the reality, right? It's the reality. Like, I know people don't like to hear it, but that's what ended up happening. The same thing we complain about, we end up doing to ourselves. I'm not sure. You gotta make more sense. You can TMG XOX. You can't just say something is not a thing without explaining what you mean. Otherwise, I'm gonna tell you no. You can't just say something is not. I do got some information on this, and I'm gonna go a little deeper onto this. Hold on. Let me go a little deeper so that y'all can get a more in-depth understanding. Like, this is really not a subject that we talk about at all. Like, sex at all is not talked about. Like, in order to be a righteous human being, you definitely have to have control over your sexual urges. Like, I know everybody here has been a victim of their own sexual urges. So it's like the fact that it's not talked about is not being able to be a commonplace conversation where a person can get a critical thinking and an understanding and enlightenment on these situations. And so that's the dangerous thing about it, is when you shut these conversations up, you don't allow them to grow and become more wise.
Exactly.
So, hold on, let me go into this. Let's see.
Exactly.
And a lot of, here's the thing, also a lot of these things about enlightenment and heaven, a lot of these things, are talking about sex and living and creating analogies for what happens during sex when you're talking about heaven and enlightenment and stuff in a lot of these different religions. But they, the pastor and the preacher ain't gonna go that deep. You know what I mean? And these conversations ain't had, and now you see why the Catholic Church is over there exploiting that shit, because they told men not to have sex at all, and then they end up got to be on some sick shit and doing it with the little boys, so it causes that inversion. So no man should be, restricted from a woman.
That's an occult. That's a cult, man. It's not even religion, man. That's what people are slowly understanding about it. It's a cult.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a sexual exploitational cult.
That's crazy that they're still allowed to exist. Like, think about human. Look how strong. That's the dangerous thing. How strong that like dominant entities such as religions that they represent, even when so much negativity is attached to it and so much evil comes out of it, individuals still follow it.
Yep.
Right? No matter how much bad happens, people still follow it. So it's like imagine how strong that brand is, that 1,000, like ever since I was younger, I've been hearing about priests molesting children, and there's still people that follow the Catholic Church. That's a strong brand entity, right? So I can go deep into how you actually create those brand entities and how they become real things, right? Because they don't just happen by accident. That's a cult religion, right? That's occultism. That's ritual practice, right? So like the average person is not thinking about what it takes to create those things, but this is like a cult practice. And people don't study esoteric. They don't study ancient knowledge and occultism. Like, that's just lost.
Branded, religions are a big ass, like, they're the best branders ever.
For real.
Yeah, the best branders ever.
Hold on,
you gotta bring it down to a science.
Let me find this tantric stuff that I got. I'm looking at my notes. I got it in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's more so they fearful to be the ones who oppose it. At the generations of your family in certain standards and, traditions, it's like people know what's wrong. Like, I done heard stories about people, have been molested by priests and stuff, but they still went to the same church. The priest wasn't punished, but he was just, I think it's protocol to send a priest to a different church. You don't even punish them. You just send them to a different church.
That's because all of them was doing that because it's occultism. That's what they do their rituals with. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is like, that shit is sick on another level. Like, it's like the worst ever. You know what I mean? And when you look at some of those, like, you got to think about, like, a lot of people who was like the biggest occultism and Satanists in the world is like Aleister Crowley. And that's basically what they be following. All of that sick stuff. Like, the average person don't even know who that is, and he done did thousands of child sacrifices and all kind of sexual deviancy. And at that high level, a lot of those guys are sick as hell, and that Hollywood world is based on that as well, all sexual exploitation. So it's like, I just want to equip people with that that critical thinking.
Where I see that? What was the number? It was like 75% of all child actors have been molested.
Wow.
Of every single, 75%.
And nobody's out here mass murdering these people.
It's 3 out of every 4 child actors you see on TV has been touched.
All right, so let me explain this Kundalini right here. It says Kundalini is psychosexual energy, and its effects upon most people is regarded as negative. Retention of semen was the sine qua non of ancient spiritual cultivation. Since Kundalini energy invariably excites the sex drive, leading to ejaculation if a man cannot domesticate that horny ram. It was seen as a catastrophe and ruinous. Make no mistake, catching and controlling the Kundalini-empowered ejaculatory urge can be as difficult as raising up the serpents unharmed. at least for men. I cannot say what levels of difficulty are for women because orgasm doesn't deplete women of chi energy, menstruation does. A female initiate can climax 50 times and the effect will be beneficial to her, according to the old masters. So the sexual challenges are different. Both male and female, however, learn to direct their orgasm to eventually experience whole body orgasms and even male multiple orgasms. Okay. When the orgasm force is drawn to the head, good guy. All right, let me skip that part. Bro, going too hard. Orgasmic energy exploding in the brain, electrifying. We'll get to the science. Orgasmic energy exploding in the brain, electrifying the glands can be mind-blowing experience. It can bring a brief period of enlightenment. Such energy regularly stored in heaven can result in full enlightened awakening. The Tower of Power energy surge is also said to be fraught with danger. Some teachers warn of Kundalini psychosis. I've even speculated that spontaneous human combustion might be incorrect, activating the serpentine fire. Okay, you're going a little far.
See, when he said spontaneous human combustion, I think that's where he meant.
No, he meant literal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like your whole body exploding.
Spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah,
like,
he was going too hard. Now, that was his speculation of thought. I'm not going to go that deep into it.
Like when you celibate or something for too long. Just combust.
I'm not about to go into that because I don't believe it. So I'm not about to talk about nothing I don't believe.
Just combust.
Like this subject really needs like a whole real lecture and dissertation to be able to give on this so that people can really get an understanding, because I really think that so many people suffer from it, right? And you got to think about the amount of things that men and women do because of sex, right? Like why we dress certain ways, go to certain restaurants, wear certain cars, work at certain jobs, buy certain things. Like most of it is all to have sex. It's all sexual exploitation. The feeling of missing out on things, buying certain shoes, increasing your sex drive and your ability to be attractive. Like most of society is driven by sex. That's what it's all about. So, it's dangerous when you don't have any knowledge and understanding over how that's being exploited, yet you're being exploited every single day and you become a slave to it.
It really trickles down to everything, man. Like you said, from the food, from the way you dress.
A lot of men want power so that they can have sex.
It's affecting it's like a domino effect. You're trying to attract a certain type of, vibration from a person. It's just, and ultimately that attracts a certain sexual, energy and a sexual presence. It's a lot to it, man. That's why it's really, really, really something that you have to control.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who really know how to control your own energy and your sexual energy, right? Because a lot of it is connected to, how you breathe and your blood flow, right? So, a women that knows very feminine tactics, and is that a seductress, knows how to touch a person in certain places, and it creates the blood to flow down to your growing area, and now you're not thinking with that same level of IQ that you were, right? So these sexual powers and this prowess is a real thing, right? But most people don't study to have control over those cells. So like I say,
really, it's not just for the purpose of having self-discipline. It's really for the purpose of
cultivation of enlightenment as well.
Yeah, don't nobody expect somebody to be celibate for years and stuff.
No, nobody said that. That is not in the contract of obligation.
But for growth, for personal growth and stuff, it's best to have control over yourself.
Well, look, you got to ask yourself like this: like it become a drug, just like anything else, if you don't have control over it, right? And if it doesn't have control over, if you don't have control over it, it has control over you. And so that's why you want that power, right? Because for men, they got it much worse. Like a woman can just rub the back of a person's neck, and then men just done lost all. They just lost their whole excitement, right? So men have a lot of less control over those things. But you got to think that when, like, you got to be able to disconnect you know what I mean, your logic from that, right? You got to be able to disconnect your logic from that thinking. Like you don't want that to drive you, right? So when your mind is up here, you know what I mean, nothing down here is affecting you. But the goal of somebody seducing you is to get your thinking down to here, all the way down to here, because you could be thinking up here, or you could be thinking up here. All of a sudden, a woman show her breast, boom, the blood drives down to here, and then goes downward, and now that's driving your thought process and driving the way you think. So you have to, when you get that sexual mastery, then you disconnect that thought, and you're able to think above that. Right. And then that's another level of enlightenment and power over self, where you're not controlled by it. You have total, complete control over it. Right. And like I say, most people don't breathe right. And that's another reason that people can be controlled, because you got to think about the excitement that you get when you're sexually aroused. It's an excitement and it's a control of spirit. You know what I mean? And so all of these different things are being in use and control. It's real. The gray sweatpants is being used to control people. You know what I'm talking about?
Now that's become
the
figurehead of you know what? You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, brother can't even wear gray sweatpants outside.
Right.
Without looked at it a certain way. You know?
Yeah. And see, this would head off a lot of cheating in relationships, and a lot of men being able to be controlled through sexual urges if they had control over it and mastery. If this was practiced in marriages, like these sacred arts used to be practiced in marriages, so that a person learns how to control that. But in an environment where everything is sex and selling you sex, and everybody trying to have sex with you, so you have to think about why it increases so much. And a person is not taught about none of this sexual power or mastery. Like, man, ain't taught about none of this shit. So you going out there unarmed, unequipped, basically. You understand me? Like, you don't have your energetic like condom around you, like, you know, to be protected. So it's the funny thing, but it's reality. Like, you walking around with no protection at all.
To sexual manipulation from women, and I think that is something that we need to, tighten up on. You know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, with the Asians and stuff, cueing in on what we desire most and how they look at our information and all that other stuff. It's something that we need to tighten up, because that is one of the weaknesses in the Black brothers, because a lot of their downfalls come from the women.
Right. And so a lot of people controlled by that RAM, that lower thinking. That's what that RAM is. That you call it the horny RAM. That's what that RAM is. That's that lower thinking.
That's what hell is, man.
And that's why I got the crown on. The crown chakra supposed to be up here, allow you to stay up here. But when you allow it to go down there, that's a different drive.
Right.
So, and so, like I say, you just want to have control over self. That is so, like, you don't understand how much power you have, like how much more energy that gives you. You understand me? To have power over self, and something else doesn't control you, but you control you. No matter what another person does, you understand me? You control you. It's like if you've seen the most beautiful woman get naked, yeah, as a man, of course, you won't be aroused. But it doesn't control you, though. Like, imagine if that happened in front of you and you're not controlled by it, because you got power over self, right? That's different, and that's why you get a lot of this sexual harassment and rape and all these different things that happen. It's a lack of self-control that end up happening in that moment, and that's why. And then things like liquor and weed throws away even more of your control. You know what I mean? To where you have even less control over self.
You don't have no self-control.
Because it gives the spirits, and your spirits just go away.
Exactly.
Somebody keep talking about these soul ties.
Soul ties, yeah, that's about the fourth time I heard.
Go ahead, talk about these soul ties, Samad.
Soul ties. I mean, what do y'all mean by soul ties? Is that like a love at first sight type of thing?
It's supposed to be a linkage in the soul realm between two people. It links their souls together, which can bring forth both beneficial results and negative. So soul ties, also, if you're looking at physics, I think of it as like quantum entanglement. You know what quantum entanglement is, right?
Right.
That wasn't a very confident right. That wasn't a you know what I mean? Somebody say right, like right.
I'm well rounded in quantum entanglement.
Yeah, I know quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement. Like, no. Hold on. Let me go to my notes. Let me pull it up for you. Quantum entanglement.
I also, you see, I be looking at both sides of what I'm giving. I also look at people who argues against quantum entanglement. So I be having like that neutral, opinion.
Hey, yeah, but it's the philosophy of it, or the idea, or the theory behind it is what I'm going with more so, rather than anything of it. Because you're talking about something being entangled at an atomic level, even over large distances, right? So what happens to one atom is going to happen to the other, even over large distances. And I think about that, and I do think that, some people are tied into quantum entanglement. Like, you may even be in quantum entanglement with family members. Something can happen to them, and you automatically feel something because it's happening to you as well. So they was basically saying with the atom in quantum entanglement, like, a measurement on one atom is going to have an effect on the other atom because they quantum entangled over different, spaces and time, right? So it makes sense to me, and that's sort of the same thing. Like, I guess what people talking about with soul ties, is this quantum entanglement of two lovers, being engaged, and what affects one affects the other, regardless of space or time.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I guess it makes.
So let me go over my notes. It says
common sense,
quantum physics. Sense, I guess I'm gonna break it down because Einstein didn't like it either. He's called it spooky behavior at a distance, something like that. So quantum physics is quantum entanglement. Spontaneous parametric down conversion process can split photons into two tight photon pairs with mutually perpendicular polarization. Now, I know y'all don't understand what all of that meant, but relax with me. So I actually, and these are my real notes so y'all can see. So look, so while people talking about soulmates, see, these are my real notes. So don't ask me what I'm reading from. And so that's kind of what I consider, quantum. I'm looking at it from the scientific perspective. Is quantum entanglement is a physical phenomenon that occurs when a pair or group of particles are generated or interact in a way such as quantum state of each particle cannot be described interdependently of the other. And even the particles are separated by a large distance. Instead, a quantum state must be described for the system as a whole. Now, I can go deep into this, but I don't think I need to. And so it was basically saying that when one particle is in tang pair, the other particle knows what the measurement has been performed on the other and with what outcome, even though there's no means for such information to be communicated. So you think that correlates with like hold on, let me finish. To be communicated between the part. Wait. Which at the time of a measurement may be separated by arbitrarily large distance. Later, however, counterintuitive predictions of quantum mechanics were verified experimentally. Experiments have performed involving in measuring the polarization of spin of entangled particles in different directions, which, by producing violations of Bell's inequality, demonstrates statistically that the local realist view cannot be correct. This has shown to occur even when the measurements are performed more quickly than light could travel between the sites of measurement. There is no light speed or slower influence that can pass between entangled particles. Recent experiments have measured entangled particles within less than 1/100th of a second of the time of light travel between them. According to formalism of quantum theory, the effective measurement happens instantly. It is not possible, however, to use the effect to transmit classical information as faster than the speed of light. So, like, what they saying is basically that it happens even faster than the speed of light. Now, science right now, the current paradigm of science says that nothing can go past the speed of light because it destroys the theory of Einstein, right? So, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. That's only saying that based on the parameters of where science currently is, right, that it couldn't be true. But I don't believe, I think that, imagination and thought is faster than the speed of light. You understand me? So I don't believe that. And so if thought is faster than the speed of light, then quantum entanglement can definitely still be true. So look, we got 1 minute left on the IG. I'm gonna keep the YouTube going. This might be my longest So we're gonna go out.
I wanted to end it off with dreams though.
Hold on. So let's come back. We're gonna do lucid dreams next. All right. Lucid dreams. All right. All right, there we go. I know somebody trying to go sneak in some ice cream real quick. You better come back on here. I know what he's trying to do. Where you at, Samad? All right. So I'm waiting on Samad to come back in here. And we're going to go over lucid dreaming in a second. Somebody said radio wave. But you want a crown, link in the bio to buy your crown. Everybody go buy them a crown tonight. Like, just everybody just mass support. Like, I'll be happy if you did that. It's good to see y'all in the building with y'all beautiful faces in here. I mean, your beautiful, like, icons that you know, represent your face. I don't know what you look like in real life. All right, there you go. Look, y'all seeing inventory in the back. Y'all can't see all of that. All right.
All right.
So let's go. Lucid dreams. Go ahead. It's only 11:43. I never sleep early.
Yeah, we was talking about soul ties, but I wanted to make that correlation with dream ties. Like, you know, when you when you dream about somebody that, you know, you might have had like a close relationship to, you know, just like a, you know, just a solid connection, but it don't really make sense. And you like, damn, how this don't even make sense because I don't even talk, you know what I'm saying, talk to this person that much. But in your subconscious, you might have thought about that person, or it might have been an activity that you did that day, or it might have been some type of connection that you made with that person.
So let me ask you this. Do you think psychic connections and dreams are real, right? Do you think that people can end up sharing the same dream, right? So, you know, there's been experiments that said that, you know, people within the same room or in the same house or things of that nature end up having the same dreams once they communicate and they tell each other about it. I believe that is true. And I'm going to tell you a story why. When I was locked up, you know, I shared a cell with probably about like another, it wasn't like a cell, it was like a room that had cells in it, that had beds in it. And it was like 10 people in there, right? And so they was all, I remember I was listening, they was all started to tell their story about their dream. Started off with one person. It was this white guy first. He talked a lot, so he just woke up every goddamn day, but he was an amazing storyteller because he did meth and he was up for like days. And so he had all kind of stories that he told. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and he told his story, and then the next person was like, oh shit, I had the same dream. And then the next person, like, I had the same dream. Now, the crazy part about it was I had the same dream. But I didn't tell them none of that shit. I didn't want them to know we was dreaming the same shit and stuff. So I'm just sitting there listening like, this shit is crazy. What the hell? But that experience, it was weird. It was like, you know, a conscious entanglement. And we all at that same moment had that same dream. So I know I'm telling this story like I didn't did a long bid. I wasn't in the jail for that long, y'all. But it was they like, this brother would did some time. No, I wasn't really. But I was there long enough for this to happen, waiting for them to bring me to another state. And I beat the trial, okay? But it was real, and I remember as it was happening, and I'm sitting there listening to them describe their dream, and I was like, yo, that was my dream. But I ain't know these niggas. I'm like, I'm not about to sit there and have a dream conversation with these suckers. So I'm just sitting there listening, but I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And it's funny because we don't share, like, I believe, like, when we awoke in this third dimension, this is like our collective consciousness, right? That we share with other people that make up this world, our perceptions, our ideas, everything. But in our mind, that's an individual realm. That's an individual world. Like, only we live in that world, but that world exists, right? And so, like, even dreams, sometimes you have that's either recurring dreams, or sometimes you have a dream left off where you stopped at the last dream. That starts where you left off. And there's certain dreams that I have that I remember, like, oh, I remember this dream while I'm in there. And then sometimes you lucid dream where you're conscious that you're dreaming. Lucid dreams are always the best. So the described question was this, right? So answer this question for me. You know characters in your dream, right? When you wake up, does that character wake up, or is that character still alive in a different realm, in a different dimension? Or does those characters in the dream even know that they're in the dream?
I don't know.
Like, does their life ends? Did they have a life before? Or are they just made up for your world at that moment? Here's the thing, right? Before you answer the question, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
We spend 40% of our lives or does not have dreaming, right? But we don't remember half of those dreams or even 70% of those dreams. But what happens in those dreams are still experiences, right? Because the same amount of neurons fire from when you awoke and when you sleep, right? So if you were having, let's say you spent all of your dreams were nightmares and you remembered those, it's the same as having negative experiences while you awake, right? So you got to think about, if a person don't remember none of their dreams, it's like them also living a whole life that they can't remember. But if they had that experience, then it will still affect them in real life. So imagine if, and they've done this in the military, right? So they have military experiments to where they try to figure out, or they try to use lucid dreaming as a way to play out scenarios so that a person can be experienced in combat and stuff like that. So imagine if you were able to, every night you knew how to lucid dream, right? You can go into this dream state. And let's say you had a job interview. But before you went to this job interview, you were able to create this realm in your mind to where you can go do that job interview, go through the experience. So when you wake up, you can work on the reality of actually implementing that. Like you get to get the practice first before you get to the reality. And so one thing that we don't practice in society yet, every single person do, because remember, we talking about human functions. We talking about water. Everybody made of water. We talking about sex. We talking about dreaming. We talking about human things that each person does. But we don't utilize lucid dreaming like it's a tool. But imagine if we utilize it like a tool, how it can be used in society. Uh-oh. We're losing connection on IG, y'all. I like to go too deep in this lucid dreaming. They said, y'all doing too much. All right, we back. We back on here. They were saying you're doing too much. I'm gonna drop this little video I made about lucid dreaming right after this too. What's up, Samar? They didn't cut us off, man. Cut us off. So yeah, we was going in. So anyway, I was saying, imagine if you can use lucid dreaming as a tool, right, to play out stuff in reality.
That, but it was more so like a trigger from when you feel unconscious and you knew, but it takes practice, of course, but it was a trigger that you used to wake yourself up in your dream state or to be aware, become aware. I forgot what the practice was, but it was simple though, but you can practice it to be aware of yourself while you were dreaming. I don't know if you ever looked into that.
They said that basically, like, yeah, there's a few different tactics that you can use. I think one of them they said was try turning on the lights or turning off the lights or turning on the lights or something like that when you're dreaming. And that does it for you. like you if you set your intent before you go to sleep, they said that works as well, right? So setting your intent of what you want to dream about, and then it allows you to realize that you're dreaming. And so it's really just that conscious realization that you're dreaming that does it for you. But the average person can't do it because they don't have enough electricity in your brain, right? So every night you go to sleep, I think you're supposed to lucid dream. Like you're supposed to realize you're dreaming in this state. But when people dream, you go to that deep level of beta sleep, right? I think it's beta wave sleep. When you go into REM sleep, really deep sleep. But lucid dreaming doesn't happen at the beginning of the dream. It happens at the end of the dream, right? So it happens before you wake up, right? So that's your opportunity to actually lucid dream. Now, of course, time in dreaming is different than time in reality, right? Because our conscious mind counts time different than our unconscious mind. And that's why a lot of times, a person can be sleeping for 8 hours, but it felt like, 10 minutes. Like time doesn't exist in the dream world the same way, which is a very interesting thing to think about. So, a person can that's why in the movie Inception, a person would be asleep for a year, but it only felt like a day, dreaming, because time wasn't the same. You're not counting time. Those collection of moments are different. So, there's a famous inventor. He's a white guy, and I talked about this with Blue Pills, a famous inventor, and he's a billionaire. Like he was a millionaire. I'm not sure if he got billions. I know he's up there. Like he has over 700 patent inventions or something like that. Like he's crazily successful. And he was doing an interview with Tom Bellew, and he was saying that one thing that he practiced before he invents something or he going into a business is he practiced lucid dreaming. And he said that what he does is he practiced inducing himself into that state. And he say what he does is he thinks about the idea while he's in a lucid dream state, and it allows him to break certain barriers about the idea that he couldn't normally have, that he's constricted with while he's awoke. And then he takes those ideas that he had while he was in a lucid dream state, and he engineers and builds something based off the ideas. He allowed the dream to influence him, and that's how he's able to create new inventions and stuff like that.
That's why I came. Hey man, that's how I came out with that cube. It came to me in a dream. Actually, I think I told you about that though. But it came to me in a dream. No bull. But it's only certain, dreams. But I was aware in the dream that I was going to use it for design.
Yeah, I done had dreams where I was dropping some keys. Like I'll be in front of millions of people, and I'll be listening to myself like, "Who are you dropping keys?" And I'll be trying to remember those keys, so when I wake up, I can use them as well. But it'd be dreams where I just be flowing. And I remember I used to have those dreams when I was younger, and that's how I knew it's funny, that's part of the way I knew I was a great orator, because in my dream I could speak so well. And it was like, man, the way that you're able to use those words is crazy. And so I used to talk about subjects that I knew nothing about, or at least you think you know nothing about, because you can't grasp all your memories, right? But if you had access to all of your memories and all your intellect all at once, how would that converge into articulation? And I think in those dream states, you get to practice those things, kind of like singing in your head. You can sound like the best singer in the world in your head, but can you become that in reality? Can that, enchant into physical capability as well? Yeah. Oh, somebody said they sleep with a notebook and a pen. I need to start doing that. I just wake up and write something down. Like I had a dream. So this morning, you and Andrea called me. And so, of course, y'all jumped into my dream because y'all called me. And I was like, but I knew in the dream, like, oh, okay, they only in the dream because I ignored they called this morning and went back to sleep. So I'll be conscious of stuff like that because certain things have influences on you. But that's why I called y'all back, because I said I knew it was something important, because both of y'all wouldn't call me back to back. That's just not something that happened. I said maybe he called me from her phone. I was like, nah, they both called. It's some family importance going on.
Yeah, man, but I don't know what it is. I haven't really grasped the whole thing of dreams, but I know it's something important that I don't know if it's like an interdimensional.
It's a fourth dimension, man. It's a whole nother dimension that, like, you got to think about everything in our reality. They say can fit in like a sugar cube. They say because most of space is empty, right? And so, like in reality, like we made of atoms, but the atom is like 99% like not really made of anything, right? It's mostly just filled with gaps. So when you think about that and you think about like the reality that we live in, just think about who we are at a fundamental level and how we made of atoms and things of that nature, you know, and you think about what consciousness is. Like let me draw something on the board real quick.
It's like the flip side.
Let me, if I can find my hold on. I don't want it to look crazy for y'all.
Well, it's like a major platform for sleepers in across the dimensions, you know?
What if it's just another world where you get to live at, right? Hold on, let me grab my marker.
But it's a social world though. It ain't like, but then again, that don't explain nightmares though.
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, it's vibrations of your own thoughts, right? Nightmares are interesting. I think it's like in real life, we don't differentiate our bad experiences saying that that's not real life. You know, I think that, you know, if you got a negative mind, you're going to create a negative reality, you know? So I think that is also telling you something in it's your subconscious working itself out. But in reality, when we have a bad experience, we don't say that that's a nightmare. That's a part of life as well. So even if it's another world, it's just because you had a negative experience in that dream state, it's still real, it's still life, it's still the world, right? But people differentiate nightmares and dreams.
Is a bad way to explain it.
I think they're just negative. It's just a nightmare is what a negative dream. It's one you didn't enjoy. I've had plenty of nightmares, but I never differentiate the nightmares and the dreams. I think it's all the same to me. It's all, you know, it's all energy, right?
It's an experience. You know, you get like a weird feeling when you wake up or when you waking up from it, but it's a different experience, you know. Nightmares definitely explain something, but they don't really occur unless unless you super emotionally enhanced during the day, or for some reason your emotions and rose, or sometimes they just happen periodically, you know, spontaneously. I don't know if it just happened but it is a way that you can channel them, definitely, and take control of your dreams.
So think about this, right? Because they say everything is, you know, an illusion, right? The whole world is, you know, a hologram. So essentially, you know, the human beings convert electrical signals. So these will be, you know, I'm gonna put EI, electrical signals. We convert electrical signals that go into, you know, the eye, the pupil, right? So these electrical signals go into the eye and they get converted, right? And that conversion, that conversion goes to the back of your head. This is where we see reality. This is where we convert everything, right? So your brain actually never sees light. Hold on. Your brain actually never sees light, right? It just takes electrical signals and convert it, right? Even they say, you know, everything you see in your light is upside down and then it get converted so that it makes sense to the eye and the human being. But we take electrical signals and all of our experiences are in the back of our head, right? So when they say a person is in your own mind, everything you see and everything you experience is in the back of your head, right? So in a reality, everything is literally made of our perceptions, right? And so that's why individuals can have different perceptions. They have different minds because we're just taking and converting these electrical things. So imagine if different levels of consciousness is going to have different levels of conversion of those electrical signals, right? So they say that the whole world is an illusion because if this acts a different way, then it changes the way your world is, right? If your perception is messed up or a person that's like schizophrenic, they're going to see things because it's going to convert those electrical senses. It's going to tell you what your experiences are. So we're not seeing things through our eyes. We are just allowing those electrical signals to come through those eyes to be converted. And we got another eye in here, right? So we got that third eye here and that pineal gland, which has some of the same things that this actual eye does. And it has crystals in here. And then those crystals, it actually produces light, right? So you have actual enlightenment. You have an eye on the inside. And it's also, that's why we can see colors when we close our eyes, because there's another eye in there, right? So when a person say third eye, they mean it in a literal sense. And people think that this is just an idea or a philosophy or a theory. This is a literal thing. You know what I mean? So like your perceptions literally create your reality, because your reality is in the back of your head. It's not through your eyes. So
but that don't explain matter and physical objects though. Like,
yes, it does, because what is this? Everything is just an electrical signal. Feeling is an electrical signal, right? Everything is converted in an electrical signal. And that's why I say, observation is reality, right? Because observation changes reality. When you close your eyes and the whole world closes their eyes, color don't exist, right? Because the human being is the one who creates the measurement of colors. So in that sense, that it's not real. We are putting the measurements of color to differentiate between objects, right? So when you think about that, even like 3D, like we create depth perception through those electrical signals. And then when you sleeping and you in the bed, if you feel something, it feels real when you're in a dream, right? You understand me? Why? Because that it's just a signal in the brain. Pain is a signal in the brain. Feeling is a signal in the brain. So our experiences are interpretations of reality. It's what we call perceived reality, or they have what they call the unobservable universe, meaning that we don't know what the universe looks like if we're not observing it. We only know what it looks like while we're observing it, right? So that interesting thing is the paradox, the human paradox, is that we cannot view an atom.
But that's something that I don't know if we would ever even figure that one out, because observation changes that. It's funny that human being, we love to try to figure things out. I think sometimes we already know, right? And I think that's the interesting thing. Like that kind of coincides with questioning, creation.
I think it goes with it, because in the essence, it kind of like breaks it. When you think about how much of matter that we actually are, we're a very small speck of actual matter, right? You know what I mean? And the atom has consciousness itself.
Some of those things.
I mean,
once the age of artificial intelligence, then some of those questions.
I don't think we need on the white man in the white patriarchal intellect needs artificial intelligence to tell him about spirituality and tell him about creation.
It will answer a lot of questions, though, especially
to a person who doesn't. But we got spiritual intelligence already. Our ancestors already answered that for us, though. If you see you got to think about it like this. Western science believes in psychology, right? Comedic science already believed in spiritualism and the measurement of the soul and the spirit. When you talk about wait. When you talk about measurement of the soul, wait, because AI is going to try to tell people about. AI is only going to bring people closer to spirituality, and the ultimate end is because it's going to end up telling people that black people was right this whole time, basically. But they needed a computer to tell them that we was right about spiritual science. That's what they're going to end up doing. They're going to build this whole computer to end up going back to Africa to be like, nigga, y'all had the answers the whole time. Y'all to just listen to black people. Boom.
But ain't nothing wrong with that. It just confirms what we already know.
That's like me going to build a big ass computer to prove that you was right, that my brother was right. I done spent 1,000 years, building a science only to come back or telling my mom she was right. You know what, mom, you was right. Damn, my computer just told me you was right. Like, I could have saved you the trouble. You know what I'm talking about? Like, fool, I told you I was right. But when you only believe in materialism and you only believe it, then it doesn't allow you to believe in that spiritual aspect. And that's why, psychology is steeped in, the science of the mind, the material, the brain, instead of the spirit. It's not about measuring the spirit. And that's why we can't go with the Freudian psychosexual models of psychology, because they're not based on our natural intelligence. It's not based on our nature. It's not based on our spirit. And so a lot of people are not being like, Black people are definitely not being measured correctly by spirituality. We're being measured by psychology. But these psychosexual models, psychosexual models, are not based off our reality, not based off us. Like, there's when you think about like spirit walkers or shamans and all these different things, we are deeply spiritual people, right? And technology is kind of creating an extension of spirituality in a material form, right? So we create all of these tools that represent our spirituality, that represent things that we can already do. The telephone is representation of our psychic nature of communication between each other, right? The television is representation of our internal images that we can create when we have dreams. You understand me? And what our third eye can do. Like all of these different things, the artificial intelligence or the internet is representation of the unlimited, mind in the universe, the collective consciousness. Like technology is creating an extension and creating models of actually what we already are and what we're capable of doing. But we become reliant on material instead of our actual spiritual, and that's why we give away powers that we already naturally possess. You understand me? Because we're around babies that think that they need these things for advancement when we already are advancement. There's nothing more intelligent than the atom.
Back to my point. I was speaking on the art. Well, we got.
Hold on. Let's get some claps up in here, y'all.
We got to the cerebral cortex and everything. We were talking about the imagery going to your brain from the eye sockets and the third eye and stuff. And we was talking about how some things that we weren't able to see through observation, pure vision. I was saying that artificial intelligence, depending on the levels that it can reach, will be able to display that corridor that we can't, see or fathom with comprehension.
Well, comprehension is limited by the individual, but if comprehension skills go beyond even trying to comprehend things through language, because you got to understand certain thoughts, are feelings and not words, right? So we're trying to comprehend things through our language, but our language might not be complex enough. So think about this. There's Aboriginal communities that don't have numbers within their language, right? So if you ask them to count, they wouldn't be able to do it because they don't have a number system. Not they don't have mathematical capabilities, but their numbers don't actually have the ability to count because they don't do numbers. So if you was to have 5 things in your hand and you hid your hand, they wouldn't know how many things you had in your hand. They wouldn't be able to tell you. So their memory and their recall wouldn't be the same, right? So their reality would just be moments. They wouldn't have too many philosophies of time because they wouldn't have counting time systems. So for them, everything would just be now. They wouldn't have words about the near future. They wouldn't talk about things that's going to happen and think, they would, everything would just be now. So it has an effect. Language has an effect. So you thinking about people explaining things using the English language, and possibly when how a person says that they can feel something but they can't explain it. Those are 2 different hemispheres of the brain, right? So your right brain is talking about, I think it was your left brain, right brain feeling, your left brain logic. So one of them is, those are 2 cords tripping over each other. You're trying to explain something, but you don't have words for it. Right? Because those are 2 different parts of the brain that process. So, but if you have balance in your brain, then you can understand that not everything has to be explained through language. They can just be understood through feeling when you learn how to interpret that in feeling, which is called intuition.
Do you believe magic mushrooms? Yeah, I took a high dosage of magic mushrooms.
Hey, relax. You spilling all of this is beyond the contract of my obligations.
But no, let me tell you about
Go ahead, brother.
I took, what was that? It was like a period for a week. I had a number of magic mushrooms. I took like two to three the first day. It was a high dosage, but lights and visual colors get blurry. When I took like 4, it was, I started to get very paranoid. When I took on like the 7th day, I took a lot. Like I took a lot because I wasn't really happy.
Did you say the 7th day?
Yeah, I had like a bag, a big bag.
So you were just a whole week. You say, I'm in this.
I'm in this.
7-day Adventist.
You got to be honest. It's honest time though. But I took a lot though on that 7th day, and I recall that I was outside and it just hit me all at once. It was like explosions. It was like white, explosions, and I had to go, lay down and stuff like that. But it was explosions, though. And I was like, it was a pretty bad experience because I wasn't ready.
And that's how you ended this. I thought he was about to go to some deep stuff, man. I thought he was about to go into another planet. He said it was a pretty bad experience, though. That's crazy.
No, because when you ain't ready for it and it hit you like that, I mean, when you don't know what to expect, it's just, damn, everything is blurry. Everything is exploding and stuff like that. The hallucinogenics. It's like, damn. That's all I can say was, damn. Like, what's going on?
He said, this is beyond obligations of my contract. This is not what I signed up for.
Straight up, when I took 2 of them, it was all cool. But yeah, man, you gotta be careful when you do those hallucinogens, man.
Definitely. Because what you're thinking about, you gotta think about that your brain has certain patterns of thinking, right? So like when you think about certain things, your thought travels along with certain path. That's what creates who you are, like your habits, your pattern of thinking. So when you do these drugs, it loosens up that and it becomes your brain a lot more malleable. So it's no longer traveling along those patterns of thinking, right? So you're having a literal experience where you don't even, like, you're not even thinking the same. You're not thinking like your regular self. And then that euphoria is what people get really caught up about it, is because like you're having an explosion of thought, like, damn, I never felt a thought like this before, because your brain is not traveling along those same patterns of thinking. And so you're supposed to actually be able to tap into that state naturally as sober human beings. But of course, we robbed of our nature, and so we can induce those states because we are not organic beings that's able to tap into that higher consciousness. Like any state that is induced by a drug, we're supposed to naturally be able to tap into that.
Yeah, man, it was a dope experience when it was like, when the doses was, was fine tuned, when I was able to just keep up with, when it was just blurry and stuff. But once you take hell of them at a time, man, it's just, you into a whole new world, man. Like the shapes ain't even the same. It's like you seeing reconfigurations of stuff. Like, yeah. But those explosions put me out though, man.
Well, that kind of gives validity to the perception is reality, right? Because your brain is not able to keep up with the reality that is constructed for itself. Right, so things are just constantly changing, and it's kind of like you're seeing beyond the barrier of the matrix, right, that you've created for yourself. And so like you get to see beyond the veil that you've put up, that you've created, that you've constructed your reality with, right? So that's the difference.
Neurological damage. No, I don't think.
I think anything in high doses. Anything in high doses is going to cause some sort of damage, I think. But
I was ready for it. Like, I knew I was going to be impacted, but I didn't know on the extent. But I was ready for it. I think once you aren't prepared for it, then that's when you can, like.
Now, I'm gonna be purely honest. I think that society right now is being controlled through their left brain. So I think that, you got to think about this. All left brain drugs are legal, right? Like things that employ your left brain, all of the pharmaceutical drugs, those are the legal drugs. But all right brain drugs are illegal, right? So magic mushrooms and psilocybin, that's it, mushrooms, but DMT, ayahuasca, the Igeben root, all of those different things are illegal because it's impossible to control a person through their right brain. You're not going to be able to control people if you have a society doing those drugs. You have to create a new method of control. It's much easier to control people through left brain ego than it is through right brain. So, that's one of the reasons that, in the 70s during that hippie era, you had all of those people revolting against the government because they was taking all these right brain drugs, and those psychedelics weren't allowing their pattern of thinking to be controlled through government indoctrination, right? So it's a different reality. You like somebody on Shroom, you ain't gonna be controlling that person. It's a different. Right brain drugs are different.
You don't know, because when you take them drugs, everything in reality is like
right. Because it destroys ego as well. It breaks down the construct of your ego, and if a person is being controlled through their ego, right, and the person no longer has this ego in front of them, it's much harder to control that person. They no longer care about consumerism and capitalism and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They don't care about going to this. They like, why do I need to go to this job? I can just be and live.
Are washed away. Every social standard is washed away.
Right now, the danger thing about that is that it takes you out the game as well, right? So it effeminates you in the sense that you no longer want power. You no longer want control over things. You no longer want these things. So it takes you out the game, right? So that's why, you know, these hippies and stuff like that, they're not in the game. That masculine energy of ambition no longer exists, right? You know, the aspiration no longer exists. So you feel like you've in a euphoria to where you've obtained it all. Like you have enlightened. You feel like you have everything that you need. All of the construct that you've created in your brain is reasons that drive you to go do things. You've now entered this state where you feel like none of that stuff is even necessary anymore. And so it puts you to this point where you no longer want to operate in societal control. You never want to operate in the constructs of society. The dangerous thing about that is, like I say, it takes you out the game. You're really not that useful to, you know, the struggle anymore, the oppression, the revolution of people, you know, because if maybe the whole world was on that same tip, then yeah. But since we don't live in that environment, that state can be dangerous because you won't be useful to the revolution. You won't be useful to your own people. You think that you've made it to the Holy Grail.
Like organic success.
It's selfish in a sense. Enlightenment is selfish in a sense, right? So you get to this point where it culminates to this higher thought to just be, and you need nothing else, right? And you get to this state of bliss to where you feel like you figured out everything. You've got it all. And so you want to constantly maintain that state, right? So there's a lot of people do those drugs to maintain that state. You got to pay rent. Whatever you get to, you got to pay rent. So, you know, an enlightened person, or you think about a Buddhist, imagine like, or a person that just reaches this high Kundalini and they feel like, I don't need to do anything. I can just be and then live my life in this state of bliss. But that means that they no longer will be helping people. They no longer will be adding to society. They no longer be doing a lot of contributing things that, especially when I think about my people, Black people in America, no, I don't need anything, right? And fundamentally, when you get down to this enlightened thought, I don't need anything. I have everything, right? But when it comes to being able to help others, I have to obtain things so that I have power so that I can help others who are stuck within this structure. So you got to think, like, if you're Neo and you become the one and you awaken, you can just say, well, let me awaken. You know what I mean? And I ain't got time to be messing with nobody else. No, you still got a war to fight for those who are asleep. You still got a war to fight for those who are oppressed. You still got a war to fight for those who are, you know, without resources and a lot of different things. So you can't just waken yourself up and enlighten yourself and then not go back to enlighten and help others and say that, no, I've achieved this state of bliss. Now I'm comfortable and I'm happy forever. Bye, y'all. I mean, you can, but it just doesn't help anybody but yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my philosophy
on it. That was a good question, Sheena, Ray. It brings me back to this point where, this is pretty off topic though, but I was talking about the ancient pharaohs and how they used to extract their third eye. What's it called? The endorphins in it. They used to extract the endorphins. They used to actually.
Like the dopamines or endorphins? No, it releases endorphins, but it's dopamine.
Yeah, but they used to extract it from each pharaoh after they die, and they passed it on to the next pharaoh, and that's why they said that they were reincarnated. Yeah, they used to actually drink the endorphins from the previous pharaoh, or whatever, or however they took it in. But they used to, you know, say that they were reincarnated. They was always the same person, basically.
Yeah, ain't nobody drinking my endorphins. No, I'm cool. Yeah, my dopamine. Y'all can't have it. Nope.
But
let me rest in peace.
Straight up.
The blood talking about Keys is back. It's 3019.
That's a crazy practice though. I mean, but I don't know if there's truth in that, but something to ponder on, definitely. Maybe they knew a lot of things that we didn't. But I'm getting into that with the Jack Heller though. Yeah, I'm gonna be displaying a lot of that through simple depictions. I'm gonna try to make it as detailed as possible, if that's even possible.
Yeah, hold on. Let me show you something. Speaking on that.
If that's even possible. And we just gonna lead the line.
I'm back. Relax. Tell me what you like this shirt. Something new some new drip that just came in. Y'all see that?
That's the back of it?
This the front. What that say? You see what that say?
I say higher conscious, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
See the back?
You see the back?
That's dope though.
Hold on, I got one more.
Man, so you grabbing shirts, hold on.
Hey, no advertisement on my live. You gonna like this one, Samad? Where the hell he go? He wanted to go do some advertisements. I told you, no advertisements on my live, man. This the longest I've done YouTube and Instagram, man. We going hard tonight.
Damn, so I'm having with my purple one, man. Somebody probably got me with my purple.
All right, look at this one though.
All right, hold on. Let me just make sure this is. Yeah. Shit, peep game on that one though. You know what I'm saying? To all the viewers.
You see it?
Yeah, that one pretty. Oh, that's for Pops.
Yeah.
Kick game to the viewers real fast.
Y'all see that one?
You know what I'm saying?
What y'all think, YouTube?
Look at these details, man. I got actual stars.
You got to put light on it, brother. I can't see it. The people on YouTube can't even see this one.
See what I'm saying? Look at that.
Yeah, that's fire. Them details is crazy.
Crazy.
They said it's too close, brother. Back up, man. They not blind. That's fire, though.
Look at these colors.
Sorry, YouTube. I know y'all can't see this. It's amazing, though. I wish y'all can see it. You can go to his page. What's your name of your page? Jack Heller? Instagram don't like when he start doing that. We've been going hard for a while. I'm about to close it down. YouTube, first of all, thank y'all for tapping in. Thank y'all for coming through. It looks like this might be the end of the road for... Oh, yeah, they kicked him out. It looked like it might be the end of the road for the podcast tonight to tap in. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in. I appreciate y'all for being cool. Appreciate y'all for just being here and listening. This was something different this evening. You know, we kind of went into many different subjects. Definitely different from our normal. I appreciate y'all spending and sharing time and space with me, man. And as always, make sure y'all continue to tap in. Follow Jack Heller Classic. That's JACKHELL. Hold on, let me let him say goodbye to the people at least. I'll give him that. We went over so many different topics. Let's try to do this once a week. We do this maybe once a week.
All right, y'all be smooth this evening. Make sure y'all don't dream about me too hard since we talked about the lucid dreams. But make
This
sure
is
y'all
beyond the obligations of my contract.
But yeah, though. See, everybody, sweet dreams. You know what I'm saying? Peace to the gods. Blackout order, blackout protocol, all that.
Peace, YouTube.